The running shoe market is as crowded as ever, and as such, sometimes some brands seem to go kind of unnoticed when compared to the bigger names. Topo is one of those brands that I think a lot of runners should take a look at and consider, specifically the Topo Atmos 2. What's up everybody, I'm Eric McIntyre, aka Rad Dad Bod, and you're watching Rad Dad Bod TV, where we review running shoes. Now today we're reviewing the Atmos 2, and if it's your first time watching one of my videos, you may notice those timestamps below. Feel free to jump around to the various parts of this video, but if you do so, I'd sure appreciate if you come back, watch the full thing when you get a sec, because I put a lot of time and effort into these videos. Now disclaimers and disclosures, I did receive this shoe for the purpose of review for free from Topo. That being said, I'm not paid, I'm not given talk tracks, talking points, there's no requirements to post, anything along those lines, and no one watches the videos beforehand. All thoughts are entirely my own. Now, as far as intended use of this shoe, this is basically a max cushion recovery day shoe. Think Gel Nimbus, New Balance More, Nike Vomero, kind of, a shoe that is supposed to give you a little bit of cushion underfoot, take some pressure off those joints for your easiest of miles. From a price standpoint, the Atmos 2 comes in at $165, which I do think is an appropriate price point for this type of shoe. That's around where most recovery easy day shoes are going to come in. From a specs perspective, the shoe comes in at, I believe, 9.9 ounces. Yep, 9.9 ounces, 280 grams, with 40 in the heel, 35 in the forefoot for a 5mm heel-to-toe drop. So this is max cushion. Maybe it's not super max cushion, as so many shoes nowadays are at that 40mm mark, but this definitely is set up like a true max cushion shoe. Fit perspective, the shoe has the signature Topo wide toe box, as you can see there. I would say it actually, though, has a standard midfoot and standard heel, definitely wide foot friendly throughout, and then lengthwise, we're looking true to size. Now, moving to the upper, I really like the upper of the Atmos 2, and to be honest, I like a lot of aspects of the Atmos 2, and if you watch my reviews, you know I'm not a fan of max cushion, at least traditional max cushion. This shoe, spoiler alert for, I guess, the rest of the review, this shoe may be the exception. It might be. I need to go back and look at all the shoes I've reviewed and look at kind of my notes on everything. This might be my favorite of all just traditional max cushion recovery day shoes of 2025. That's a bold statement, but let's talk about why. So again, the upper, you have a recycled mesh upper here, and it is max cushion in the sense that it is comfortable, but it is not as overly plush as a lot of other options out there. So you have some nice comfortable cushion there in the heel. You have kind of a mid to heavyweight tongue, but think, for example, of the Vomeros. I like the Vomeros a lot, but the tongue was just so overwhelming. This is a nice cushion tongue, but it's not so fat that it's overwhelming when you try and lace down, right? Speaking of that, the tongue is not going to be gusseted, which is a little bit annoying, but Topo does this thing where they lace the laces through the tongue with those little orange loops, and it tends to keep the tongue secure. And on top of that, even though you have a wide, really accommodating toe box, I find that the midfoot lockdown is really, really nice. The ankle collar itself is very, very cushioned as well. You get some good heel lockdown. And then again, you have that toe area giving you some space to breathe. Now the upper is going to be a little bit warm, as is not supposed to be a shoe geared towards speed. So it's not supposed to be a shoe that, is going to need a lot of that lightweight or like locked in feel. But as far as max cushion uppers go, they manage to give a lot of cushion, a lot of comfort without sacrificing or without making it too heavy or too overly plush. Now moving to the midsole, you have a zip foam midsole, which I believe is an EVA based foam, if I'm not mistaken. This version of zip foam, I don't know that Topo actually uses anything other than zip foam, but sometimes I think it's tuned a little bit differently. This is a slightly softer version of zip foam than I am used to in some of their other shoes, and frankly, I kind of like it. It's not the PEBA-based foam that you're going to find in the Spectre. I do, again, believe it is EVA, but it is very, very soft, cushy, yet structured, right? So this isn't a shoe you're going to sink into a ton, right? It's not a shoe that's going to compress a ton underfoot, but it's going to be a shoe that's very, very comfortable and very supportive. Because the foam doesn't just overly squish or collapse, the shoe ends up being very, very stable, but it actually has a decent amount of rebound, right? It actually bounces off the ground a good amount, but not so much. Like, you don't have an aggressive geometry kind of paired with it to where you're gonna feel yourself flying, but it's one of those types of shoes where you are surprised at how nice some of those more like moderate efforts feel in the shoe. In fact, doing strides at the end of an easy run in this shoe felt pretty effortless. I was pretty surprised at how smooth the shoe felt overall. It has a nice roll heel to toe. I really like the 5mm drop as well. I do think, like, the more I wear shoes and various drops, I do think 5 is kind of my personal sweet spot. And so I really, really enjoy that. But the zip foam is just good balance between supportive, soft, and comfortable, as well as, you know, it gives you a little bit of a bounce, but it's not like, this is not a speed oriented foam, at least not this tuning of the foam at all. From a pace versatility standpoint, again, recovery day shoe, but I do think kind of standard daily miles, you can kind of take it and just run steady in the shoe and have no worries there. Obviously not going to be a speed oriented shoe though. From an outsole perspective, you have this durable rubber outsole. It's decent coverage overall. The traction pattern is not crazy aggressive, but the traction does grip the road nicely. And for the most part, I'm seeing it to be very, very durable. About 30 miles through, I have basically no wear and tear on the bottom of the shoe. So one caveat to that is I have used these on a decent amount of treadmill miles, just because we're doing some pretty aggressive speed workouts right now, to where a lot of the times I do my easy miles on the treadmill just to add a little bit more shock absorption. And so that's why the wear is probably less than it would be normally through 30 miles on a shoe. But honestly, for the most part, I don't think you're going to be slipping, sliding around. I feel like the grip does a good job, and the shoe as a whole, really, really solid option. Again, a little bit more flex than you would normally get in a max cushion recovery day shoe. Now, as far as who's this shoe for, you know, I think that this is a really good option. So for me, like, again, I don't really love traditional max cushion. And the reasoning is because I feel like those shoes end up being too heavy, and oftentimes the foams feel a little bit too dead. I'm going to do a comparison, I'm going to record it right after this, of the Atmos 2 versus the Gel Nimbus. If you are someone where the Gel Nimbus didn't quite work for you because you just weren't getting the return, maybe it was a little too bulky, maybe it was almost a little bit too cushy or overwhelming of a shoe, I think that the Atmos 2 is a really good alternative to that. It feels a lot more minimal in the best ways when compared to that, without sacrificing a lot of that cushion and protection underfoot. So this is for those who want a max cushion shoe, and you're looking for a shoe that will help you maybe slow down and take it easy on your easy runs, but you haven't loved traditional max cushion. That's where this shoe is going to feel really, really nice. It has a nice foam. It is soft, yet not overly squishy, right? It's supportive, but not overly rigid, right? So it just fits really, really nicely in a rotation, in my opinion, for those recovery miles, right? But anyway, just some final thoughts. You know, Topo, really underrated brand. I first found out about them in the trail space. I actually had a friend who was sponsored by them in trail running, and so that was my first exposure in the trail space. And I just, you know, you notice the wide toe box, you notice kind of some of those aggressive treads that they had. In translating to the road, I've also been equally as impressed with models like the Atmos and the Spectre. And I kind of wish that they would do a true race shoe. But when I've asked them before, they've said that it's just not something they really explored. So it's interesting, but Topo, really high quality products. I love the care and I love the care that they put into each shoe, so I'm excited to continue to test and see what's to come from them in 2026. Now, if you stuck around this far, I sure appreciate you. Let me know in the comments what questions you have about the shoe, and let me know what I could be doing better to make these reviews even more entertaining for each and every one of you. Now, if you haven't already, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hit that like button, turn on those notifications, and if you'd like to support the channel as well, consider using any of the affiliate links in the description below. I've got links to Fuel Goods, which will give you 10% off if you use RADDAD at checkout. So if you're going to be buying any running gels, electrolytes, anything like that anyway, please consider using my affiliate link to Fuel Goods to get your fuel for your next race. And then also, if you're in the need of any running tights or just cold weather running gear, with it getting colder each and every day, the Wallaco Fulton Pant is a good base layer, and the Wallaco Distance Full Tights are awesome if you're going to be marathon training through the winter and need storage for your gear and fuel. So RADDAD20, by the way, gets you 20% off and 25% off until December 2nd, but I think I'm posting this after December 2nd, so ignore that. But anyway, as always, we'll just wrap up with a question, which is, have you tried Topo? And if not, what's stopping you from giving him a shot? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks, everybody.